They say a man's car is more than just metal and rubber. It's a reflection of his hard work, his blood, sweat, and tears. And for me, that car was everything I had dreamed about since I was a teenager. After years of saving, working extra shifts, sacrificing vacations, and pouring every ounce of energy into my career, I finally bought my dream machine, a Lamborghini Aventador. It wasn't just any car, it was a sleek, roaring beast that announced its presence with every rev of the engine. The day it rolled onto my driveway in Willowbrook Estates in late May, I felt like I had finally made it. My neighbors came out to look, some clapped, a few kids ran over wide-eyed, and I stood there grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. But not everyone was happy. From across the street came Linda, the HOA president, clipboard clutched in her bony fingers, lips pursed so tightly they could cut glass. She didn't congratulate me, she didn't even smile. Instead, she scanned the car like it was trash dumped on her perfect lawn and told me in her shrill, grating voice, "That's not going to fly here. We have community standards." At first, I laughed. Surely she wasn't serious. But Linda was always serious. Everyone on the block whispered about her, about how she fined one family for leaving up Christmas lights past January and threatened another for having unapproved flowers in their garden. She lived for control, for paperwork, for making people bend to her will. And now she had set her sights on me. The very next morning, I woke up to a violation notice taped to my door. Vehicle non-compliant, excessive noise, aesthetic disruption. I thought it was a joke. By the end of the week, I had 3 more notices, each with a fine attached, totaling nearly $1,000. She claimed the Lamborghini lowered property values, that it was not in harmony with the neighborhood. Meanwhile, I looked around at cracked driveways, peeling shutters, and rusty mailboxes that she never said a word about. This wasn't about harmony. This was about her jealousy and her need to control. I tried to reason with her, but reasoning with Linda was like reasoning with a brick wall. She smiled that smug smile and said, "If you don't like it, maybe this isn't the community for you." I started documenting everything, her notes, her threats, the way she would stand on the curb and photograph my car like it was evidence in a crime. My friends told me to fight back, but I wanted to keep things civil, at least until I realized just how far Linda was willing to go. It started with harassment. Every time I pulled in or out, she was there, scribbling on her clipboard. Every time I washed the car, she snapped pictures. She even followed me down the street once, claiming I was speeding through the neighborhood at 25 miles an hour. But things escalated in May when she recruited someone else, Greg, a wannabe tough guy she had made the HOA's enforcement officer. Greg was in his late 40s, out of shape, always wearing a reflective vest like he was on official business. And he strutted around with a walkie-talkie like a cop. Except he wasn't a cop. He was just a bully with a title, and Linda loved to sick him on anyone who dared defy her. One Saturday morning, I came outside to see Greg circling my Lamborghini, tapping the hood with his finger, smirking. "This thing doesn't belong here," he said. "Linda's right. It's an eyesore. You should park it somewhere else or we'll take care of it." I told him to back off, that if he touched my car, there would be consequences. But he just laughed and walked away, clipboard under his arm like he had just delivered a death sentence. I didn't know then how literal that threat would become. The tension reached its boiling point a week later. I had friends over for a barbecue, and as we were laughing in the backyard, we heard the blaring of a horn. We ran out front to see Greg parked sideways in front of my driveway, blocking my car in with his beat-up pickup. He was yelling at the top of his lungs about how the Lamborghini was breaking community rules and that he was going to handle it once and for all. My friends pulled out their phones, recording because nobody would believe this insanity otherwise. I shouted back, telling him to get off my property, but he just sneered and said, "You'll see. This car won't last the week." I thought it was just another empty threat, another attempt to scare me. I was wrong. Because Greg wasn't bluffing, I'll never forget the day it happened. I had just finished a workout when I heard the roar of an engine that didn't belong in our quiet neighborhood. I ran to the window and froze. Greg was in a full-sized bulldozer plowing into my Lamborghini Aventador. The sound of crushing metal and shattering glass hit me like a punch to the chest. My $450,000 dream was being reduced to scrap right before my eyes. Neighbors rushed out, phones raised, recording every second. I shouted, begging him to stop, but he only grinned and yelled, "This is what you get! I warned you!" Rage boiled in me, but instead of taking his bait, I pulled out my phone and recorded everything. Within minutes, the sirens arrived. The real cops rolled up to see Greg standing proudly beside the bulldozer like some suburban sheriff. "Relax, officers," he said smugly. "I'm the HOA enforcement cop. This man's car violated policy." The officers exchanged looks before one stepped forward. "Sir, you're no cop. You're under arrest for impersonating law enforcement and destruction of property." They cuffed him on the spot, neighbors cheering as Greg's confidence vanished. Court was brutal. Greg faced a mountain of charges: impersonating an officer, felony vandalism, reckless endangerment, and civil liability. My video and the neighbors' testimonies sealed his fate. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay me $500,000 in restitution. Linda, the HOA president who had backed him all along, tried to wash her hands of it, but her reputation crumbled. By the end of summer, she was forced to resign, and the HOA was restructured under new leadership. The last time I saw Greg, he was in shackles shouting, "I was protecting the community," but no one bought it. Neighbors laughed, Linda hid her face, and I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. He thought he could bulldoze me, literally, but in the end, life bulldozed him.